Going back to the rules that we talked about, please follow the rules. They will help you out. What sign do I look at every single time first? The second sign, right? This one right here. So I'm going to look at this sign, and what does it tell me? Same. What else does it say? So can I just write S and A instead of writing the whole word? You don't know what that means? Then when I know same, I need to go, well, if they're the same, I don't know if it's plus plus or minus minus yet, till I look at the first sign. And the first sign tells me that's minus minus. Then we get to play a game. I need two numbers that multiply to 36 but add to 13. And so it doesn't matter where they go, right? Why does it matter on this one if I put the 9 or the 4? Because they're both the same sign. So I don't have to worry about the bigger number. Kids mix those up. Does that make sense? Don't mix those questions up. You don't have to worry about the bigger number when they're both the same sign. You only have to worry about the bigger number when they're different signs. Yes? What does this tell me? Now we have to worry about which one's the bigger one, and the bigger one is going to be. So I put a little line there. That's just something for me that I do for myself to remind myself. That's it. Two numbers that multiply to 20, but subtract because I know different. And subtract two numbers that multiply to 20. Subtract to 1, 4, and 5, and the 5 has to go with the subtraction sign. 4 goes here, X and X. How are we doing? This says different and subtract. 1 plus, 1 minus. I need two numbers that multiply to 32, but subtract to 4. And the bigger goes with the positive, so the 8 goes here. How are we doing? Final one. I did it on purpose because this is a factor you guys always forget. This right here says same. And this says add. I need two, no. Yes. 16 and 1. Don't forget about 1 times in itself is that number. And then 16 plus 1 gets me to 17. Oh, we're going to do that. That's today's lesson. Thanks for asking. You're already ahead. Yes, if you did notice, that is something you need to know. Every one of these had a coefficient. Coefficient is the number in front of a variable of 1 with my x squared. Every one of those, there was no number there, so it's understood to be 1. Today we're going to do a lesson that has to do with when it's not a 1 and the way we handle it. Okay? Before we do that, though, I want to go over something. I don't know if I did. Did I do max and min with you guys? Okay. So if I ask you for the max, right? First off, will this ever have a x having a maximum? Will the x ever have a maximum? Why not? It never, ever, ever stops going to the right. Would this ever have a minimum for my x? No, because it never stops going left. In fact, my range for every one of these is all reals. So it can't have a maximum or a minimum. No parabola can have a max or a min when I'm referring to the x, because they all go left and right forever. When I say a max or a min, and I'm talking about a parabola, I'm asking about the y. And since this has a peak, what would we refer to that as? A maximum. And where's the maximum always happening on a parabola? So if I told you the vertex is 5, 2, what would be the maximum? No. The 5 is the x coordinate. We just talked about how it's not the x. The max would be the y coordinate. What would be the 5 though? This is the vertex. That's the axis of symmetry, right? I'm just trying to show you when I know the vertex, things go through it, right? The axis of symmetry goes through the vertex. So x equals 5 is my axis of symmetry. I understood that because of this. My maximum is y equals 2 is a max. And why is that a max? Because I know this thing's facing down. If I know it's facing down, what do I know about a? It's negative. These are things that you should start being able to say to me, right? You're getting educated. You're getting smarter here, right? There's a reason behind what I'm saying. There's no guess involved in this. It's facts. I know this has to be true. So, what if I told you and this is not true, I'm making up this. I'm saying this is a vertex. It wouldn't be. If we actually did the vertex out, it wouldn't be. I'm just making it up. So let's say this is the vertex of this parabola. Do I have a max or a min? And how do you know? Why do I have a max? Not because of the 6. This right here told me which way this thing is facing. What way is this thing facing? And so I know I have this kind of graph, which means I have to have a maximum. No. The max is 6, but I don't know if it's a maximum or a minimum. What if this was a plus 5? Then it would have been facing this way, and my 6 wouldn't have been a maximum, it would have been a minimum. So you can't just tell based off of the vertex. You tell whether it's a max or a min off the A, and then what is the max or minimum is the y coordinate from the vertex. They all work together. Do we understand max and min now from the homework? Okay. So now moving on to the, we're going to start recording another time. Or recording. It's weird. I wonder what happened. Oh, we're recording. We're just getting crazy here. All right. So let's see what would happen if I had this. It's actually very similar to what I taught you, and I'm actually teaching this a little different order than I normally did. I'm seeing if this is gonna maybe lay a groundwork for how to factor, so that when I go to other ones, that makes it easier. So I'm actually teaching this a little different than I have in the past. So, still going to do our sign rules. Your sign rules still apply. Meaning, what do I know? I still know they're saying yes. And I still know I'm going to add. Those still work. Now, what that second sign doesn't tell me is whether it's what? It says same, but it doesn't tell me whether it's negative or positive, right? What does this one tell me? It's positive. Is everybody with me on that? Now, here's the new part. So sign rules are still the same. Because this 2, I'm going to multiply the 2 times the 10. 2 times 10 is 20. That's my new target number that I have to multiply to. Now, remember when it was just a 1? How come I didn't have you do that step when it was just a 1? Because 1 times 6 would just be, so if this is ever a 1, whatever I times this by, it would still be that same number. So I don't need to do that when there's a 1. Do you follow me? Good. So now I need 2 numbers that multiply not to 10, 2 numbers that multiply to 20, but add to 9. Now, here's another little different spot. Instead of writing the 4 and 5, I'm going to write them smaller and float them up in the air. There's a reason in just a second. I'll show you. So I didn't write the 4 and the 5 like I normally did. I floated them up in the air a little bit. Yeah. This process, I promise, takes care of it. Why did I divide by 2? I just take whatever this is and divide by my A. Whatever number is there, you divide both these numbers by that. Every single time. If my A was 3, I would have divided it by 3. Do you understand so far? Then we simplify. Because this simplify, it turns into a 2. What do you notice about this one? Since it doesn't simplify, this is when it doesn't simplify, you pull this number that's underneath here in front of the x. It becomes the coefficient here. And so this becomes 2x, and then you just drop the 5. Morgan, there's your 2 you were looking for. This is kind of a trick. The way that I used to teach this, oh boy, it takes me all period to explain it. It's a bear. It sucks. It's way harder than this. So this is the new way that I'm teaching it.
How did you figure out this way?
Another teacher.
Oh, that's good.
That's what we do, right? We learn from other people, and I went, hey, that way's better. I'm stealing it. Ras, and he learned it from a teacher over at Dixie, who's the calculus teacher. And I said, you sure this works? And he's like, it works every time. Haven't had it fail. I've been using it for 3 years. Never fails.
Going back to confusing me so much. There's so many different ways to do everything. And like other subjects, is like this is how it is. This is exactly.
This is a little bit more like you have a goal in mind, and people can get. It's kind of like driving. Like I can get to one spot, and I can take different roads, and some people like different ways. That's kind of how math is, but there is a right answer. Whereas like other places kind of, oh, well, it's how do you feel? Like there's no feelings here. I look at your test and I go, no, that's wrong. You know?
Every other math teacher I've had, so I would think like this is how you have to do it. Like, this is how it's done. I'm the only one I've ever had that's like actually showed us different ways to do different things.
Oh yeah, no, there's different ways to do. When you and it's a lot when you get higher. Like let me take this back. Like there's only one way to multiply 5x times x.
Yeah.
When you get to mine, now we're using these different skills. So you might do the distributing first, you might not do it first. So it's like now I'm getting to the free part. I'm getting to the higher level. Like I told you about the basic like football, where they say this is how you do it because their brain's not ready to handle it. You're now getting to the point where your brain's ready to handle the options. So it's not necessarily teachers. Maybe they could do a little more.
I remember doing foiling last year, not knowing that there was no way to do that.
Yeah, I do. There are some. I talked about. I want to write a book in because I feel like we lose the purpose as adults a lot on things. Like this drives me crazy. Maximum grade, minimum effort. Kids are they like on the test, the last test. You guys could have just plugged in the answers. Some of you did. You only got 5 instead of 10 to find the x and the y. You could just plug it in and see which ones worked and didn't work. But here's doing that. Like if you don't learn how to factor, this is part of a bigger problem when we get into algebra 2. So you might be able to cheat your way through the factoring test, but when you go to use the factoring to solve a bigger problem, you won't know how to do it. That's where we're at in this class, is that a lot of people have been giving minimum effort, have kind of faked their way through it and not actually learned the math and how to do it. And now when you are having to do the math, you're like, I've always kind of just faked my way through it. So that's why I'm trying to change that mentality to get the maximum effort to actually do these the right way, understand it, and the grade will follow. If that makes sense.
Like I went to kind of like summer school for the Kurt, because I had
Yep.
to take it.
Yep.
I don't remember what my teacher's name was, but she literally just taught me how to cheat my way through it.
Right, and that's what that drives me crazy, right? Because that's teaching to a test.
Yeah, because like obviously I didn't already know stuff that well. That's why I went to summer school, so she taught me how to cheat it.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I think. That's what I mean as adults. I'm gonna go to my kid's baseball game, and they'll they bank on the kids not being able to throw and catch very well because they're just still learning. So they'll steal bases. Like there'll be a guy at third base, and he comes off half the way to home, and tries to make the catcher throw it there because he doesn't think that the catcher could throw it to the third baseman who can then catch it and throw it back home. Will you ever see that in the real game of baseball where there's a guy? No, because in professional, they can throw and catch. So in Little League, they teach them how to score, but they're not teaching them the real game. That's what I mean. We've lost our purpose somewhere along the line. Like playing baseball is not supposed to be about winning. It's supposed to learn how to play the game the right way so that when you get to possibly high school or college, you can have a chance to play. Right? Same thing, kind of cheating their way through winning the game, and it's purposeless. I'm gonna talk to this. I might be in trouble for saying, well, I don't care. Tardy sweeps.
But yeah.
What's the purpose of them? To try to make kids get on time throughout the entire year, right? What happens if I come out and I tell you every time you're gonna do a tardy sweep?
Then you're gonna know that you can't be late, and you're gonna make sure you're not.
but only on that day. The purpose of the tardy sweep is supposed to be unknown so that you guys get to class all the time on time. Because you know what? Today might be the day that during 5th period we do a tardy sweep because it's just unknown, it's random. But if I announce it every time, it's lost its purpose. The purpose of the tardy sweep is not to get kids in trouble, it's to get you on class on time. That's what I mean. Where is the purpose? But the point of the tardy sweep should be just random to make everyone just be on time. That's it. Shouldn't be announced, in my opinion. Shouldn't be announced. Shouldn't be. It should just be all of a sudden, you guys don't hear any of the administrators, you don't see them. Teachers were doing a tardy sweep. I close the door. Now anyone who's out can't come in until, and it's random. That way, kids get to class. The purpose is to get class on time. Every day. If it's announced when it's going to happen, it's lost its purpose. Because those kids are only going to be on time the day that they have to be, and then they know the next days they can be late because they're not announcing the tardy sweep. What is the purpose? Don't lose your purpose. Okay? Does that make sense?
Every day.
Yeah, I wish they just can't. They don't have time for that.
And then they don't, when people are like, you're getting attention, but they don't get anything.
There's so many people who are like wait online, but then I mean there's no way to discipline them at all. But like it's still not fair. We have to do it if they don't get it.
But I mean, I can't even make sure that they're watching right now.
Yeah.
So, there's not going to be anything that I can do. We can't compare them to us. It won't ever happen.
Yeah, I know, but it's
Right, I can't control that. The only thing, here's the thing. That's what I've kind of had to get this year. I'm going to teach because I want people. The people who want to learn are going to learn, and the people who don't are going to. And that's going to be on them. They're going to have to face that later on in life. It will catch up. My job is just to do the best I can to explain it to you guys, and I want the people who want to come to learn with me. That's my purpose. I'm just trying to get my purpose back because I've been really frustrated with a lot of this stuff. So I'm trying to, what's the purpose? Whoever wants to get on board with me to get better, let's go. I'm ready to go. What time do we get out of here? 45? Okay, do you guys understand how to do the one with when it's not a one up there? Okay, you're gonna have homework practice on that. If you need more help, there is one called Listen to This because it's on my YouTube here too. It's on my YouTube channel already. I've already recorded it and it's a good lesson. It gives a lot more examples. It's called Updated A Doesn't Equal 1. There's also one called Factoring. It's the first video on my YouTube channel. You can watch that one. And the updated A Doesn't Equal 1. Those are the 2 factoring videos this weekend you should probably check out. And you will have homework on it. So if you're struggling on the homework, go back to those YouTube channel. Good?
You know, sometimes like, teachers will be lazy, so they're showing up a video of like another teacher teaching.
Oh, I hate when people do that.
I hate that too.
It's so annoying.
Do you think teachers ever show your videos? They're on YouTube.